Right. You will have to let me know if this is working or not. It's definitely laggy. I can see it's laggy on here. I don't know what Phil's done to his setup because I've not changed anything other than the intro. But I can see myself lagging on here. So he's got some sort of delay, which is annoying me already, actually. Massively. Anyway, I can turn off the camera, and that's probably the best I can do to get rid of this. And then we can just do an audio experience instead of a video one. So I'm at Phil's house, looking after Lola, and Khalees is with me as well. Khalees is behind me, just here. And Lola's down to my side as well. And Phil and family are off taking a break and also helping Jack out with some of his A-level work. So it's just been... Oh, and now Lola's come over and said hello. Hello, Lola. Hello. Desperate to say hello. I've got on with quite a bit of stuff. I say quite a bit. I'm still painting my bestigors. Lola. You can see this paw and now a head. Look at this. This is what's happened for it's Friday. Lola. Come on. Off. She's so loving. Just stop. It's because I said her name now. She's desperate. Stop it. Lola. Right, you stay here then, yeah? You staying here? You going to stay here? And you're going to keep licking face? I'm trying to do a show, Lola. I'm really trying. I know, you look dead cute. So I've been painting my bestigores. There's 30 of them to do, and I've got to get the first 30 done before I move on to the normal gores. And then I've got some ungores, so there's 20 of those. Then there's the rest of the army. It's taken me ages. I think I've spent 2 weeks so far painting these 30 bestigores, and I didn't realise. I actually think there's something to be learned from the older models. The old models have got so much detail on them, like loads and loads of detail. The new models that Games Workshop makes are actually easier to paint, and I think they've made a conscious decision. I don't know if it's the way that they're designed now. 100 millisecond delay on filters and face cam. Well, thank you, Phil. Let me see if I can turn this off. Maybe not. I don't even know how to. And settings just doesn't load. There we go. How do I even do that, Phil? This is going to be good. It says there's no delay on the audio there. Video, there's no delay. This is great. Edit, maybe? Advanced audio properties. I mean, it's the video that's got a delay on it. I can see there's a delay on that. Face cam. Filters. Not going to be on there. There's no filters on there. All that there is a crop. So the two filters are crop and chroma key. And that is all. Yeah, filters. Where? There are no filters. This is brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to ignore it. And I can turn... Yeah, I've gone on the filters on the face cam, Phil. And these two filters are crop and pad and chroma key. But that's it. We're just going to have to deal with it. If there's a delay, there's a delay. So I've realised that the bestigores are basically... They've got loads of detail on them. They're really difficult to paint because there's so much that are on there. And with the newer models that Games Workshop make, especially things like the Stormcast, they're quite a lot easier to paint. Like, you can spray them a base colour and then pick out a few details. And I'm looking forward to doing that because it's just a pain. 30 models has taken me longer than it ever should have done. It's especially, my first expectations of these was not going to take that long. And I know that I've got 30 more gores to do and then the 20 ungores. So I don't know how much longer it's going to be to get this army ready for the tournament in March. I'm literally painting all day and most of the night to get these done. And I'm still not getting anywhere. So that's all I've been cracking on with. And it's been good to have no distractions whatsoever. Rachel's away this weekend as well. So it's just me and the dogs and a load of painting to get done. Some chats. Sam, you are looking deathly pale. Hope all is okay. I don't know. I mean, I am quite pale. But it's definitely not as pale as it's coming up on the camera. So I don't know what Phil's got on his stuff. but maybe I'm just a ghost. This is the ghost of Sam. I am quite pale. I'm going to go through this chat and see who's here, and then we'll talk about what we're going to go on with. Even his mouse is different. Okay. Marty Milligan is the top thing I can see. So Marty's there, and he's messaged me on Facebook as well. He says he's got back into doing some hobby stuff recently, which is good to know, because he's been distracted by Warcraft, which is a very easy thing to be done. Patrick is here as well. Welcome, Patrick. And we've got loads to do with Patrick at the tournament as well. So Marty, let's keep going. Al Kirkham as well. Not spoke to Al in a while. I hope you're doing well. Oh god, this is such a fast scroll. And then Skegatron. So this is the start. It was supposed to be. I'm just going to use the scroll bar. It was supposed to be 8 o'clock start. I did put 2000 GMT, but and this morning it still was up as 8 o'clock this morning. And then even when I changed it, it said it was live at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know what's going on with the YouTube announcements for when things are going live, but I'm potentially just going to put the time that we're going to be going live with the show in the title, and then I'll change the title or whatever afterwards, which is what I've done today. So we will be talking about prophecy points and background fluff and story a little bit today, and anything else that we decide to go on about for an hour. Where's that gone? Rower's here as well. Welcome, Rower. Coleman as well, and Frank Derpimus, Graham Rigg, Sir Mergleton. Oh, good old Murlocs. Carl M as well. Everything seems to be working, Sam. Well, that's good, apart from the sync issues, but can't do much about it. Derpimus had a long day of uncling, and hobby stuff achieved. That's good. Oh, so no hobby stuff achieved. I think that was supposed to be. That's not good. Jim Wilson as well, and Ralph. Welcome to both of you. Dunny Woods, Red Cuffs. Martin Dix as well. Welcome, Martin. I need to reply to your comment you left, I think, on one of the YouTube videos the other day, but thank you for that comment. I know there's a lot of stuff I need to get on top of, and YouTube comments is one of them. We keep getting so many, and I need to reply to them. Marlborough 69. Turn off chroma. Okay. Off. It's done nothing, Phil. Never mind. What if I just doop, doop? Yeah, that's definitely the one. Maybe that's better. Goodbye. You can hear me from the abyss. The time it is going live has been 12 p.m. for the last 3 shows I have seen. Well, that's just rubbish. I'm going to change it to the time will, from now on, at least for my shows and probably Phil's, will be in the title, just to make it clear when we're going live. And then people know. Felhate, hi all. Welcome, Felhate. So yeah, another thing that I wanted to moan about a little bit. I don't moan too much on the live shows. I do plenty offline, so I don't need to do it online. But I got really annoyed with my latest brushes. I bought an Artificer layer brush, the small one from Games Workshop. I bought an Artificer extra small and a medium brush. And I bought 2 or 3 others. And the other 3 are fine, no problems at all. But these 3 brushes that I've only just bought, the first use, they've all frayed. They've all gone like that. So I'm extremely unhappy about these GW brushes. I don't know if they're a new batch or if I've just got really unlucky. But that's 3 brushes with a complete waste of money that I can't paint with, and I've ended up that basically cut into a V shape, and then I had to go and clip off some of the bristles so that I can actually use it, because I've got no other brushes at the minute. So cheers GW for putting me even further behind. He's still a vampire. Yeah, I'm still a vampire. I don't think there's much I can do about that. I mean, I am just a vampire. It's definitely colour there, because you can see I've got my ginger beard, my ginger fluff on my face. It's not really a beard, but I'm just pale. And Phil's light is quite bright and white. So what else has been happening on my side of things? Not much really. Just painting constantly. Ralph, artificers are apparently substandard Winsor & Newtons, which are notorious for quality control issues at the moment. That's annoying. Well, I don't have the receipts for any of them, and 2 of them were Artificer brushes, 1 of them wasn't. That's blooming annoying. I need to pick up some Broken Toad brushes. or find another manufacturer that sells brushes fairly cheap that I can rely on, because I pick them up every now and again, and I don't buy loads of them because I know that they last a lot of the time. So Marlborough saying I had the same for my last 4 small base GW brushes, so gave up on them. I've never had an issue before. The older range with the coloured ends and the brushes used to be absolutely fine, and they changed the new ones, and I had issues with some of the brushes, but the layer ones never really had a problem, and most of the Artificer, if not all of them, I never had an issue with. It's only this last batch that I've had constant problems with, and I shouldn't have to buy a paintbrush and then faff around with emailing GW saying, can you please send me another brush? I mean, even if they send me another brush, what's to say that one's going to be fine if it's the batch problem? I don't know. I haven't got the time to sit and email people about dodgy products. So I'll just pick up some Broken Toad. I think this is the thing, you go with stuff that you can rely on. And I know, I've only had one set from Broken Toad, so I don't know if that's anything to go by, but from what I've heard, they're really good on quality control and they get high reviews. And I've used a set in the past, and they were probably the best set of brushes I've used for a long time. I had Games and Gear brushes, and they were good, but not for long. So Broken Toad I think I'm going to look at, and if I can find any others I will. Derpimus, do any of the brush care products I keep seeing advertised work, or is it better to save the money for new brushes? They do work, but I think you need a brush that works in the first place. So if you find a brush that's good, then using brush care products on it or soap will work perfectly fine, and it will make them last longer. And there's all sorts of different products you can get. I noticed Phil's got this thing from Green Stuff World, which is a gel that you're supposed to clean your brush. It's a brush repair gel, and I did stick my brush into it, Phil, I'm sorry, but just to see if it was going to help, and it didn't help any of them because I think they're just broken brushes. But that stuff smells like hair gel, so I don't know if Green Stuff World I've just got some sort of hair gel and put it into a little pot and then charge £5 for some hair gel in like a little pot. Maybe they have, I don't know. Ralph, I can sort you out with some nice Raphaels for about £6 each if you want. Yeah, if they keep a point and they've got a decent body on them, then I would definitely be up for trying that, Ralph. I'll send you some money if you can send some across, and I'll try them out. That would be a massive help. Skegatron, if you can wait, I know that Siege Studios will be releasing a brush range on Element Games in a couple of months. I probably can't wait a couple of months. I'll have to pick something up for the meantime, but if their brushes are good, then this is the thing. I just need to try stuff and experiment with it, and if it works, then I'll stick with it. And Al Kirkham has also had the same problem with them. Ian Stanford, welcome. And hello. What was I talking about other than brushes being rubbish and annoying me? Tournament, painting, I've got all of that to do. Chat about it later. Yes, Ralph, I can come on hangouts after this because I've still got more painting to do. So I was having a look through the new, we'll start with what I've been looking at, the Malign Portent. So this is the new army book from Games Workshop. See if this isn't working. There we go, it's worked. There's some really nice stuff in this Malign Portent book, and I've been trying to catch up on fluff and background anyway as it is, and I've not got very far. I tend to fall asleep when I read at night, and I don't get very far reading the actual story. Audiobooks are the best way for me to do background or listen to background because I can just listen to it while I'm painting, whereas reading I just get tired very quickly. Talk about GW brush. I don't want to talk about GW brushes, Ian. We can go back to it though. We can have another rant. Oh, something's making charging noises, and that's my iPad, so it shouldn't be doing that. And I've been reading this Malign Portent book, and there's some really good background at the beginning of it from what I've read, and some nice artwork I've just seen. Look at that. Oh, getting a load of background, but yeah. Some nice artwork, some brilliant story, and I like the whole what's it called? The realm of Shayesh? The realm of death, and just reading some bits that are in there, like Nagash's story after the end times, basically, and what happened to him, and I'm going to collate all of this stuff so it's easy. If you're not interested in reading the entire background and you just want some basic points on what's going on, I aim to be doing some videos based around that. But I quite like that one of the bits that this is kind of it's not spoilery, but Nagash basically kills all of the Death Lords, so all of the Lords of Death effectively killed everybody so that he could be the Supreme Lord of Death, which is what he is now anyway. But I didn't realise that he went around and killed a bunch of the other... I didn't realise there was more than one Lord of Death, if you get what I mean. I thought there was just... like, Nagash was found under some rubble by Sigmar. Sigmar was like, yo, how's it going, buddy? Let's build let's have an allegiance and we'll rebuild the realms that are here. And Nagash was like, yeah, let's do that. I just assumed that he was the only Lord of Death, but apparently there was loads of others. And Nagash went round and killed them all individually so that he could rule solo. But that's all in this book, in this Malign Portents, and that's just like one page explaining something about Nagash. But I've kind of skipped past some of the story to see what else was inside the book, and I got to the rules of I've gone past it now, go back over. So the main Malign Portents rules, and there's this section on prophecy points, and they're quite interesting, but they seem very familiar. If you played 40k 8th edition and you've used the command point system, they are very similar to the command point system, or at least that's what I think they are effectively. I mean, it's PP instead of CP. They've just called them prophecy points. My iPad's definitely making noises for some unknown reason. Let me take off that keyboard bit. Maybe that's doing it. So in here it says prophecy points at the start of each battle round. So this lasts a whole battle round. It's not per player's turn, because some of these abilities can be used in the opponent's turn and some of them can only be used in your turn. So you generate a certain amount of prophecy points at the start of each battle round, and each player does that. Depending on what you've got in your army list determines how many prophecy points you get. So with command points in 40k, you generate them at the beginning of the game based on your army list, and you keep them through the full game. In Age of Sigmar, it looks like you generate them at the start of each battle round, and you lose them at the end of that battle round. So some of the examples here is if the battle that you're fighting in is being fought in Shyish, the Realm of Death, you get +3 prophecy points. If you have a Harbinger, then you get +3. So there is a bit of a push there, I think, to get you to maybe purchase the Dark Oath War Queen or the Knight of Shrouds. Each one of the 4 Grand Allegiances have got a what are they called? The Harbingers. Each one has got a Harbinger for each of the factions, and if you buy one of those models or convert one and use it as that in the game, then you get +3 to your prophecy points as well. So if just for fighting in the Realm of Death with one of them as your leader, you've got 6 points to use at the start of every battle round, or for the whole battle round. If a hero from your army is garrisoning a War Scryer Citadel, then you get +3 as well. I don't even know what a War Scryer Citadel is. I don't know if it's something that's been released or if it's due to be released, but you get +3 just for garrisoning a hero inside there. For every priest or wizard from your army that's on the battlefield, you get a +1 on top of that. So encouraging you to take as many wizards as possible. Now this, just in itself, as the Malign Portents rules, I can see that this is very focused around magic and death, as you'd expect it to be. But going on from this, I think GW's now got the possibility to expand this if they see it as working, and put prophecy points or command points into Age of Sigmar going forward, and they may update it. So when the new General's Handbook comes out towards the end of the year, they may implement a prophecy point system, same as we've got in 8th edition 40k, which uses this as a base point, really, just to try it out. And we've seen this from Games Workshop before. They test it out in small areas first, not Age of Sigmar where they kill off the whole of everything and then do a big test, but they do try all things beforehand and let the community decide whether it's going to work or not. And ultimately, if you're playing games and this enhances them and makes you want to buy more stuff, then it will work. If it doesn't and people just complain about how overpowered the rules are and things, then it doesn't work. But from what I've seen, they're not game-breaking abilities. Same as the command points. They can help you in pivotal parts of the game, but they won't break it a lot of the time. You know, it's things like re-rolls, and I was saying to Phil in one of, I don't know when it was, fairly recent anyway, and just saying how good it would be, because we played a lot of 8th edition 40k for a while and we didn't play any Age of Sigmar. When we went back to Age of Sigmar and tried to play some games, I kind of missed command points, and I says to Phil, I wish they brought command points to Age of Sigmar, and I think they've done it and they've just called it this. So going back to this, At the start of the first battle rounds, at the beginning of the game, each player can choose, or they roll a dice to determine their guiding malign portent. So this represents the dark omen that has brought their army to the battle, or to this battle. It is possible for both players to be guided by the same malign portent. So there's 6 that are in this selection, and there's more later on, but there's 6 different tables, and in order to use any of these abilities, you have to have a hero, and they have to interpret the portent. So they're called an interpreter. So that's something a little bit different to 40k. You need your hero to be an interpreter, whereas in 40k, at least as far as I can remember, you get your command points, and you can use your command points for as long as you want. It doesn't matter about having a certain character or anything on the table. You just need an army still left in order to use the command points. In Age of Sigmar, you need a hero, a friendly hero, to be the interpreter, and then you state which sign you're going to interpret. So I'm going to go to the next stage. This is the first one. This is the example, the falling star, and there's 6 different signs that you can interpret. And this one, for example, is 2 prophecy points, or 2 PP. Interpret this sign immediately after failing a save roll for the interpreter. Reroll that save roll. Quite straightforward. If your hero is, it doesn't even have to be the same hero throughout the whole game. If your general basically gets a failed save, you can just use 2 prophecy points. I was going to cut power points, and re-roll that save. You've got 3 PP, which is, it is PP. Interpret this sign immediately after a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of the interpreter suffers a mortal wound. Roll a d6 for that mortal wound, and for each other mortal wound inflicted on the unit for the rest of that phase, on a 5 up, the wound is negated. So if you know you're going to take a bunch of hits, you can use that. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is just examples of what you can use these prophecy points for. They're very similar to the command points in 40k that we've seen. And there's a lot of range and scope that they've put inside just this selection alone to choose from. We'll go to the next one. So this is the Blooded Skull. For 5 PP, you can have interpret this sign at the start of any combat phase. You pick a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of the interpreter, and in that phase you ignore the rend characteristic of attacking weapons when making save rolls. So that can absolutely save you from being wiped out, but it is 5 PP. So you kind of, it's situational, but that's generally what command points are, and it looks like they've done the same with this. We'll go to the next one, Black Void. So this is 6 more powers here. And here's one that affects in the opponent's phase. So interpret this sign at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. In that phase, the range of missile weapons is reduced by 6 inches to a minimum range of 3 inches. So, I mean, that can be quite devastating, again, if you're going up against a Wanderer's army, which is shooting based, and they're very good at putting things within ranges so that they can back out to the table edge and teleport away in the next turn. You can just go, yeah, whatever, I'm spending 4 PP, and your ranged weapons are reduced by 6 inches. You're not going to get hit at all. So for an entire turn, potentially, you can reduce all of the shooting benefits that the other army has got. And they don't even know if you're going to use it or not, because you can spend it at the start of your opponent's shooting phase once they've already decided whether they're moving or not. So these are going to give you some quite reactionary gameplay, and we said all along that reacting and changing your battle plan as the game goes on is actually quite good, and it makes the game interesting, and it doesn't get as boring as if you're just playing the same rules over and over again. And one of the rules from 8th edition fantasy that got quite annoying in a sense was knowing exactly what you were going to move and charge and things. It took out the chance aspect, and I think in Age of Sigmar it's gone the opposite way. It can be anything. If you're doing a charge now in Age of Sigmar, it could be anything from 2-inch charge to 12-inch charge, which is just massive. And in 7th edition, at least you had like some of your movement added to it, so you know roughly that you'd get a better gauge of how far you could go. But that meant that people would just stay out of ranges and stuff, and it became like a stalemate. You'd have one force on the battle line that would just stay still and they'd wait until the other one edges forwards. In Sigmar at the moment, you basically you can have a full combat army that just doesn't get into combat because you roll badly, and that's just the game now, but you've just got to get used to it. And I think these can either help and hinder that, or they can add more things into the equation. You might not make the charge, and then some of these prophecy points might make it even worse for you, or it might save your army's life. You don't know. We have, yeah, there's loads there. So looks like there was more than 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, there is 6. It just seems like a lot of rules. But then you've got some more. So there's rules in here for skirmish battles, which I'm not going to go over because you can do a whole separate video on skirmish. And we probably will. Battle plans in here as well. I'm going to skip past all of that. But we have got extra. Here we go. So if you're taking the Lord Ordinator, which is the order harbinger, signs from the heavens is their choice. So you can. It says Lord Ordinators can interpret the following signs in addition to the signs from their army's guiding malign portent. So you've got 2 tables to choose from. So that's effectively 12 prophecy points, powers, or whatever that you can use. An example, I mean, this has got more higher level ones. There's 2 on here which cost 5 PP each. So there's this one here which is 5. Interpret the sign in your hero phase. Pick an enemy unit anywhere on the battlefield. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, or D3 plus 1 mortal wounds if it's a chaos unit. It's not massive, but D3 mortal wounds might potentially finish off an enemy hero, or it might finish off a ranged unit that's been causing you problems. You don't know. D3 mortal wounds is definitely not something to complain about. The Bray herds that I've got can inflict 0 mortal wounds as an army, so 3 D3 mortal wounds is better than 0. There's maths for you. And there's another one here. Interpret this sign at the start of any hero phase. Before interpreting any other signs in that phase, you can choose or roll a dice to determine a new guiding malign portent for your army. Now that's 5 for that. Oh wow, but it completely switches your portent. So if you go into a game, and I'd imagine you set this up beforehand, I can't remember now, but you choose your guiding portent. If you're playing against your enemy and you go, right, this isn't working for me, you can pay 5 and switch it out for something else which might have a benefit. Or you might have something, like that one that I was saying, if you ignore the rend value. If you're playing against an army which has got massive damage output, but it's based around rending you could switch your guiding portent over to the one that lets you ignore rend completely. So it gives you options. And there's one of those sign tables for each of the Grand Allegiance harbingers. So the Dark Oath War Queen has got access to the signs from the Dark Gods. And this one's quite interesting. It costs 1 to 5 PP, so you choose what you want. Interpret the sign in your hero phase. Pick an enemy unit within 7 inches of the interpreter. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of prophecy points you chose to expend. For each 4+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, so that could potentially be 5 mortal wounds. Nice, but it's only got a 7-inch range of the interpreter themselves. We've got a fungoid cave shaman. He's got access to signs from Gorkamorka, and I can't wait for Gorkamorka to come into the game as well, or both of them, if they're going to be split or if they're going to be one, I don't know. So there's loads of cool stuff that they can do with this, and it's good to see. I'm actually quite looking forward to them expanding that, and I'm hoping. I mean, I didn't even know anything about this until I was looking through it, but I've not heard many people talk about prophecy points, and I think it's something that might be worth trying if GW maybe released some other ones that weren't necessarily related around malign portents for people to use in general games. I mean, these could be used in general games anyway, but I think giving you benefits, because at the minute it's based around death and having wizards and stuff, but maybe having different bonuses to give you different prophecy points or different tables to choose from without it getting too complicated, because it's not that difficult. You've got one sheet with your 6 powers on it. I think there's good stuff to be done from this, and we've got the rules for the War Scryer Citadel in here as well, which does look extremely complicated, and I really can't be bothered to read all of that, so I'm going to skip past it. There we go, cool. Right, that's that done. I'm going to go through the chat and see what people think. Ian Stanford saying I have same problems with GW Rush, which is not good. Malice is canon in 40k. He is. Malice? Is that the other Chaos Guard? Vaguely remember it beginning with an M. Every time I hear the M, I think Malarian. That's obviously Malekith, hoping he returns. And Ian saying, I have the same problems with the GW brushes. Second time. I think Ian's got big problems with GW brushes, so I can understand him. Derpy Mess, it's PP giggles. Paulus01, hi all, hope you're well. I am well, Paulus, I hope you're well. Sir Murgleton, War Scryer Citadel is a piece of terrain. There we go. And it's been re-released recently. That's probably why I didn't. GW being so good at releasing things at the moment that I can't keep on top of it. An example of that is the Inquisitor Eisenhorn, which looks like an absolutely amazing model, and I need to pick him up, but I don't even know how to get him. This, I think, is a one-day only thing, which will not be good for me. Same with the Black Library releases. If I wasn't dog-sitting this weekend, I might have nipped into Games Workshop to get some of their special stuff. There's a box of postcards, which has got... does it say how many? One of the most striking things about Black Library's books over the past 20 years is the array of amazing artwork. Blah, blah, blah. For the first time, 100 of these iconic art pieces have been collected into a box set of postcards, which you can pick up today, alongside a journal as well. The journal looks nice. I don't know the price on these, but the postcard collection of 100 really good-looking artwork pieces would have been something that I would have been interested in. I'm just hoping that the Eisenhorn isn't this weekend as well, otherwise I've missed the boat on that. Would have been a good one to pick up. 12 Neef, greetings from Brooklyn. I heard skirmish. Yeah, it's like if we say skirmish, skirmish, skirmish. That was difficult to say 3 times in a row. 12 Neef appears and tells everybody about the joy of skirmish. There's loads of rules in Malign Portents. I'm sure you're probably already aware, 12 Neef, but it looks like they've expanded skirmish for the rules of death, or the realm of death, to use it in there as well, which is cool. Derpimus Maximus, I hope Gork and Mork are 2 heads on 1 body kind of thing. Get some proper slapstick going on. Yeah, I really like, again, some of the background, and we'll talk about background in a moment, but one of my favourite bits of the Age of Sigmar story is probably because I haven't read too much, but what I've read so far from Age of Sigmar story has been really good, and especially the bits with Gork and Morka in it. He's quite a cool character. Neil Molden, welcome Neil. I think you've been posting stuff up on the Facebook group as well, and it looks really good. Keep it up. Derpimus saying Malice used to be Malal. Apparently that was too subtle or something. That was it. Malal was the one that I remembered. I didn't realise they changed it to Malice. Neil saying, I don't follow the meta, I just play and model what I like. Yeah, and that's, in my opinion, probably the better way to do it. Or at least it's the better thing that suits me. And I think going forwards, I'm going to pick stuff that looks cool. I was looking through, because I'm trying to design this 40k Primaris army with the rest of the models that I've got. Turns out I'm probably going to need some more, because the way that I'm trying to do White Scar Primaris army, which is using the Custodes bikes as a base. It's going to It's going to require a lot of converting, but I need to get a bunch of Primaris bodies and arms and things that aren't stuck in single poses, which is the stuff I've got right now from the Dark Imperium. So I need to pick up some more stuff. But I've been looking at how I can use them, because there's no Primaris bikers in 40k at the moment. And obviously White Scars, you have to have bikers because it's all based around bikes. And I was thinking I can't just use them as normal bikes, because they're going to be far too expensive to do 20 to 30 bikes models, and I was thinking they don't really suit either. They're Primaris, they're bigger than normal bikers, so they should have a better stat line. And I was looking at assault bikers, or attack bikes, sorry. They've got 4 wounds each, and they've got a heavy bolter, which is more in line with what the actual vehicle's got from the Custodes model. I was thinking I could just do a whole army of attack bikes with a character like whatever his name is, one of the White Scar characters, just as the main leader, and then put a librarian in there, because White Scars have got quite a lot of librarians. Their relic that they get access to in the rulebook is something to do, I think it gives them +1 to cast. It's something of the Stormseer, Mantle of the Stormseer, I'm going to say. I don't know. But to try and keep it as fluffy and background linked as possible, I wanted to include a librarian of some sort. But I think that's the way I did it in Heresy. When I was picking an army for Heresy, I would look at the background, what the legions used to take, and base it around that. And I think I'm just going to do the same with 40k and Age of Sigmar. I'm going to look at what suits the army best and go with that. Marlborough 69, and you can pre-order Eisen Horn. Huh. Why do they not have the link on here then? I'll have to have a look then, and I'll get him pre-ordered. Thank you very much, Marlborough. Redcuff's Eisenhorn release number 2 is on the 11th of April, according to staff at Darksphere today. Very good. Right. So the second part, I've only got 2 bits of the show that I really wanted to cover as topics, really. But it was the background and lore and how important it is. Look at this, I'm going straight into questions rather than leaving it till the end of the show like normal. And it was how important is the fluff or the background or the story, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's down to the individual, really, because I never used to care in the slightest about background or story or fluff. I was going to call it fluff from now on because I like the word. And I just used to be brutally honest, I used to get the most powerful model, chuck it in my army and try and win the game. Didn't really matter. As long as I won the game, I don't care. And I didn't always have to win the game, but that would be the intention. I wanted to play the game to win. That was the aim of the game for me. And being second place was just like not an option. I mean, it happened plenty of times, but if I'm building an army to play a game, it's a player versus a player. The aim of the game is to win it. So that's what I would intend to do. I would pick from the possible choices that I had from the army book, and I would make the list which would make me do that. And that was how I used to play. And that's one way that loads of people play, and it's not an issue whatsoever. But a lot of the time when you do that, you end up playing the same list over and over again, or you've got one thing that works and you can't really do much else because it works in such a way that you can't do anything other than that same repeated tactic in order to win. Alpha strikes and things like that. If you have army lists that require your whole army to go down and do something really quickly in order to win you the game, it gets boring. And with this hobby where you have to invest a lot of time and money beforehand to build an army to then use in games, you want it to last as long a time as possible. And with Games Workshop's current shift, or say current shift, it's been 2 to 3 years of shifting the way that people look at gaming, I think. If something comes out that's really powerful, GW switch it. And I think everyone's been quite stunned about this. At first it was really shocking. They were like, oh wow, I've just been out and spent £400 on an army that was broken and I was going to win tournaments with it. After I bought it and painted it, you've changed all the rules, so they're rubbish now. And they did that at first and everyone was a bit shocked, and they've been doing it every time since. And I think it's taken a while for people to get into that mindset of changing the way that they do games, which is, in my opinion, and the way that I think Games Workshop are going with it, is pick what's cool to you, pick what models that you like, pick the themes that you like, and build an army based around variety and choice rather than just picking one overpowered unit and basing your army around it. And I think that works for me now with where I'm at now in terms of I like to see a variety of units. My Iron Jaw army is literally 2 of every unit. That's all I've picked. I've got 2 of every unit. I've got 1 of each character, and that's how I did the army. The Bray Herds, I've got 1 unit of Vestigors, I've got 1 unit of Gors, 1 unit of Ungors, 1 Chariot, 1 Gorgon, 1 Shaman, 1 Beast Lord. I've literally got 1 of every unit again, thinking about it. They've only got 6 units, and Gorgon isn't even part of that army. It's an ally from the Warherds. But I've got 1 of each of the units, and I think going forwards I would like to have a range of models because that's the game. I'm interested in wargaming and miniatures, so I'll pick 1 of everything, and then if I don't use it in an army, I can use it in another army later on down the line, or a different list. But the other thing that goes alongside that is the background and the fluff. And in Heresy it changed the most, because when we did the Heresy campaign at the store I used to run, everything was based around the fluff. And the Horus Heresy is such a great system to read or listen to if you got the audiobooks, and it gives you such a in-depth description of characters and legions and the way that they do things that you just don't get from playing the game. I mean, you can play as 1,000 games, you won't, at least me personally, you won't ever feel like you know anything about that army, other than how it looks. You know, if you play Space Wolves, they've got beards, they've got wolves and Wolfie McWolf face and some teeth and some more teeth. And that's Space Wolves just from an aesthetic thing. That's what they look like. But without reading or going into any of the background, you don't know any of the stories or any of the in-depth, the personality that each of the characters have got and what they bring to the chapter or legion. And I think that was just awesome. Reading the Horus Heresy books just opened up a whole new side of the hobby to me that I was never interested in. The first 5 books, from not reading very much to reading loads of the Horus Heresy stuff, it took a bit to get into it at first. And I think Fulgrim, it was a brilliant book, and then it got to a bit where they were throwing things at the wall and the ceilings, and I was like, oh, this is getting a bit weird. But then I carried on reading it, and that was a good book as well. But the first 5 hooked me into the Horus Heresy, and then I think Prospero was one of my really good ones. Are you hungry? You've already eaten, Lola. The Unremembered Empire was an absolutely brilliant book as well, with Conrad Kurz and stuff in there. So there's been tons of... Oh, hello, Lola, once again. Just chill. Okay. Yes, you love me. I love you too. I love you too. At least your dad knows that you're being well looked after. Come on, chill. Shh. Stop it. Go and annoy Khaleesi. She's just asleep. She's lost my train of thought again. Yeah, so there's tons of good books from the Horus Heresy. And some of the stories and struggles that the characters go through in there, they made me just think, right, I want to do an army of those straight away. The amount of legions that I could have started based on just reading one book was ridiculous, and it took a lot to not start every single legion, because I could have done it quite easily, just reading one story. I'd have based a legion around that one book. And the Horus Heresy started it. I was never interested in the 40k background. Again, couldn't care less. Everything was grim and dark, and that's as far as I needed to go with it. And when they started 8th edition, when they started releasing the background and the story and started progressing it, it felt very much again like the way that they'd fleshed out the Horus Heresy, and they'd given some more character to some of the story, so they'd given some more character to the characters, which made them feel a little bit easier to immerse myself with in the game itself, which is why I got into 40k. And it's weird that in the past all it needed was good rules and a good system for me to play, whereas now if it doesn't have a good background, I'm not as interested in it, which I would have said never would have been a thing that would have happened. And with Age of Sigmar, the reason I'm so interested in Age of Sigmar at the moment, probably over the Heresy and 40k, it's easily over 40k for me, Age of Sigmar, is the background. And the way that GW are actually working on it now. They've released all of this stuff with Malign Portents. They're fleshing out some of the story. There's some bits that I think are going to happen. I said this to Phil and some of the other guys on the Hobby Hangout a week or so ago. Something I did was with the Wargame Online, we did a conversion project where people would convert their own characters and bring a backstory or whatever. And there was one that I can't remember the name, it's in one of our videos somewhere, but it was a character, it was a Stormcast model who had been gifted by the Chaos Gods, and the story that I'd given him was that he was basically Sigmar's right hand man or whatever, and he'd been with Sigmar since the start of the Age of whatever it was, Age of Chaos maybe, before that, when Chaos basically started stomping all over Sigmar's face. And he'd been with Sigmar, helping him do everything he needed to do, kill Chaos, kill everything. And the Chaos Gods had basically been gifting this character, and they'd given him, and each of the Chaos Gods had given him a gift. So Tzeentch gave him some wings, Nurgle had mutated him and given him a weird tentacle-looking mutated arm, and corrupted his face so he looked disgusting. And so he put a mask on and things like that. But then he sprouted horns, which is why I gave him the head that I gave him. Khorne gave him like rage and freakishly super powered, powers. He was super strong and nasty. And who was the last one? Slaanesh. I don't think there was much going on with Slaanesh. Maybe he was pretty unique in his own way and pretty, I don't know, Slaanesh-y when he needed to be. But it was mainly based around the other 3 gods. And Skaven had no part of it, because I still don't see them as part of the Pantheon for Chaos. But sorry to offend all of you Skaven players, but they are chaotic. I just don't think they're part of the Chaos Gods. And what had happened was Sigmar had basically looked at this champion who had been with him since the beginning of the Age of Sigmar, or the Age of Chaos, and he was like, yeah, you've been really good, and you are amazing as a warrior, and you're very loyal, and you're still fighting against chaos, but you're pretty ugly, and you're corrupted, and you're gifted by chaos, so you can't stay in the heavens anymore, unfortunately. So he kicked him out of the heavens, and that was the story I was going with. And he wasn't chaos, even though chaos kept keeping him alive and gifting him, and he basically wandered around the realms of Sigmar, I forgot the names now, all the different realms, and killed everything that was against Sigmar. I wonder how many times I could say Sigmar tonight. We need to do a tracker. And that was something that I thought of over a year ago. And I thought, how cool would it be if Chaos basically... And then the other side of it was this is what I'm getting onto, is the Horus Heresy and Stormcast being corrupted by Chaos. And something I read in one of the background books recently was the flaws. And it was very similar to the Heresy flaws that each of the legions have got. With the Canis Helix or whatever it is for the Space Wolves, where they can go and turn into Wolfen, and like the Black Rage with the Blood Angels, and each time one of the Stormcast Eternals dies, they get teleported up into the heavens, and then they get put back into armor and basically rebuilt and sent back out again. And I think that was the only way they can go to heaven. The only way they can get into the gates of Azir is if they die or something else. There was two ways, but you can't just basically walk through the front door. And so they go back, but each time there's a chance that a bit of themselves are lost, and it could be just one time. They die, they go back, they're a little bit, whatever flaw that chamber has got. So in Heresy, you have them, they're all classed as legions, and I'm pretty sure in Age of Sigmar, the Stormcast Eternals are separated into chambers, which are the same as chapters in my head. And each one of those has got like an inherent flaw, but each time they die, they get sent back up to the heavens, and it could reveal themselves. So let's, for example, say that we've got a Space Wolf chamber. I don't want to confuse the background, but to make it easy to explain, one of the Stormcast dudes gets killed, he gets sent back to the heavens, and then he turns into a Wolfen. That's effectively what I expect could happen. It'll be different flaws. The Games Workshop might change it into different things, but each one of those chambers will have an inherent flaw, and I think the more that the story goes and progresses, I think we're going to see something like that happen. And from that, I was thinking, well, what if all it takes is one of the Chaos guys, one of the Stormcast guys to turn to Chaos, and it wouldn't take much for it to happen. And the only way into heaven, into the Azir realm, or whatever it is, into the heavens, is to die. So what happens if one of them dies, goes back, and is basically corrupted and changes or corrupts the heavens from within? What happens if one of the Chaos Gods came up, or Tzeentch or whatever, came up with a master plan to corrupt the heavens, and some of the Eternal Stormcast, or even just one of them, that's all it needs to start with, that's all that happened in the Horus Heresy, one of them goes back to the heavens and then corrupts all of the Stormcast, or 50% of the Stormcast Eternals, and you get half of the chambers just turn against Sigmar. It's something that I could definitely see happening, and even though it's so similar to the Horus Heresy, I think it would add loads of story, loads of background. And it would be cool as well. They can do loads with it. I know you're there, Lola. I know you're there. No, chill. Just chill. Good girl. Lie down. I'll fuss you after. I think Chaos corrupting the heavens would be awesome. It might never happen, but it's just something that I think could easily happen in the lore, and would definitely change things around. At the minute, the Age of Sigmar is in the current state where he's basically pushing back over all the realms, fighting chaos, and then rebuilding civilizations and building back up the realms as they were when he first rebuilt them, when he found them with the big giant dragon thing, the Dracothian or whatever his name is. And that's kind of the story that we're at. Very similar to 40k, where it's good versus evil, or evil versus evil. You've got the Imperium fighting chaos in an endless war. It's all grim and dark. And I think that's where Age of Sigmar is. But if you have this heresy, the Sigmar heresy, and it all kicks off again, you've suddenly got a smaller story which has huge impacts, but you've got a smaller story to follow, and it isn't just the good versus evil story which has happened over and over and over again. So I think it could happen. And there were rumours about Death corrupting the Stormcast, and maybe one of them becoming dead or death or whatever, which is, they die anyway, it's not nothing special. Maybe Nagash was going to control an entire chamber of Stormcast Eternals. Maybe that's one of them that gets, one of their flaws is that they get corrupted and turned undead. There was I think it was called Musalon, one of the Bretonnian armies in 8th edition fantasy. I think it was pronounced Musalon, or it was definitely spelt something similar to that. But they were a completely undead Bretonnian force. And maybe there'll be a completely undead Stormcast Eternal Force or Chamber. Maybe there'll be some Chaos ones. Maybe there'll be some souped up Sigmar ones to fight even better. But I just think that's something that can change. It's gone off track a little bit because I was talking about how important story is, but I think just talking about how much can happen in the background and how you can base armies on that shows how much of an impact the story is. Like if all of this happened, for example, if all of what I've just said is something that Games Workshop put into place, imagine the possibilities. One of the things I'm looking at doing, and I've said to Phil that once this Bray Herd army is done and the tournament we've been to and sorted and I've been defeated and let Patrick down, one of the things I would like to do on top of doing the White Scar Primaris and finishing the Black Dragons, that sort of stuff, is doing a Stormcast army. I've got them all ready to be done, but one thing I want to do with them is do a Chaos Stormcast army, and I want to do it before anybody else, but because I've got so many projects, somebody else is bound to do it now. But Chaos Stormcast is something I want to do, and I want to almost follow the Horus Heresy as an example of that. I want to try and build up a backstory for them, and it will be the one that I've just told you about, with something getting into the heavens and corrupting maybe just only one chamber, but then it turns to chaos. They can't then die and go back up to the heavens because obviously Sigmar is going to have control over that, but then it makes it even more life and death based for that chamber from then on. They can never die, because if they die they go back to the heavens and Sigmar just cuts the link, or they just die and Nagash takes them. So it's even more important for that chamber to succeed for chaos from that point onwards, because there's no returning other than in Nagash's legions. So I think that would be flipping awesome, to be fair. So that's, I mean, come on, let us know in the comments if you're watching this back afterwards, or if you're watching this now, put it in the chat. And I'm going to read through. Some of you will probably have written how important the story is, but you know, how important is the background to you? Is the gaming the most important? Is painting the most important? Is the story what makes you, or what drives you to do stuff? Or do you just not really care and you do all of it and it doesn't really influence one over the other? For me, painting is the biggest thing. I think story is secondary now and gaming is third. But I think once I've done the painting and the story, I would definitely want to play games with the stuff that I've done. So it's not like gaming's out of the window for me. It's just the other two take priority. And they drive things as well. I think story drives me to do armies and to get on with projects. Once there's a plan and there's a background and there's something I know I want to do with it, I'm more determined to get on with it rather than just having 1,000 models to paint, which is probably what I've got to do right now. Right, let's go up to the top. We'll read what people have been putting. And you know what? I've been babbling for almost an hour. We're almost at 9 o'clock. Oh, don't skip on me. I said I wasn't going to use that. You can. This is from Turrican. You can still get him from Alchemy Workshop. So maybe. Okay. So he has already been released, but you can get him again on the 11th of April. I need to get him up from them. Paulos is saying, oh no, Neil Malden, the background and fluff is everything. That's why I've stuck with 40k since the 80s. So that's quite the linchpin in the hobby. I do look really pale, don't I? I'm like so white on Phil's camera for some reason. I'm so white. Deathly white. Maybe I should play vampires. Paulus is saying, fluff is important to me. I want to feel connected to the game somehow. So again, another one. Dunny Woods, personally I would have zero interest in Warhammer without fluff. I think that's where I'm going to now as well. I'm in that same place. 12 fluff was as important as the aesthetic, then play style came last, which is why I struggle with war games. But then skirmish is so good to get you into playing the game once you've done the aesthetic and the story. Felhay, I love the fluff, and having models of guys from said fluff makes me happy. That's very nice. Nurgling saying, yo guys, hey Nurgling, I hope you're doing well and keep up the projects as well. I have been keeping an eye on your updates and stuff you've been putting all over Facebook. I haven't watched any videos for a while. I've got to confess, I haven't watched many YouTube videos at all because I've just been busy, but I do mean to put some on in the background and listen to them while I paint, which some of you may be doing now. If you are, I haven't got Phil's set up right because I clicked on one of his other scenes and it's got overlays all over the place, which I think can only be from Wednesday. But I was meaning to go on the forums or the Facebook group and just post up some stuff that people have been working on. So maybe I'll do that next week. But if you're on the Facebook group or the forums, put some stuff up. I mean, Facebook I'm going to be on after this anyway, so I want to have a look through, but just so I can see what you guys are all working on. Why is it skipped? Why would you do this to me? Frank Storm, seems to be a big push for AOS this year. Nurgle, Malign Portents, and now the Daughters of Cain. Yeah, and I think we're going to see I've code-named them the Sons of Malerion. I think they're going to be out, and I think we're going to have the High Elves, which potentially are going to be... I mean, Phil did have the rumour last year that there was going to be Sea Elves, and it could potentially be the Sons of Malerion, because they had the big black arcs in 8th edition fantasy, so it could be them that are going to be the Sea Elves. Could be the High Elves, because obviously they had the Lothian Sea Guard and stuff like that, so they could expand them into a sea-based elf army. I don't know. Derpimus, it's a combination of fluff and models I like, for me, to be honest. It's why I consider what I have to be a collection rather than an army. That's interesting. Al Kirkham saying fluff give you more of a connection to the army and the games you play with them, which is true. Marlborough, except Centurion Devastators, never was that in relation to. Derpimus, at some point I'll need to go through the codex and actually figure out how to turn what I've got into some armies. And Chapter Master Valrak, the legend, has appeared. Someone say 8th edition. And Valrak is being... I haven't spoke to Valrak in a while, actually. I need to catch up at some point, but he's been working on his Custodians army, which I've seen. And I think today he posted on Facebook that his Dawn model has arrived as well. So very jealous of that, Valrak. You've got a brilliant model to get on with there. And he did put that on Facebook. I think he said he was biased because it was his favourite Primarch, or it's his Legion, but it is a very nice model that Forge World have produced. Polus, if games have fluff, then the tabletop actions should represent that. There are some games that I feel disconnected from the background for me, Malifaux being an example, in my opinion. I've never tried Malifaux, but I think Games Workshop are getting better at producing rule sets and game rules which relate more and more to the background, and I think that can only be a good thing. Makes it more thematic and more immersive. Derpimus, one of the things about being a Guard player is that while there are some named characters, I tend to ignore them because it doesn't fit into my interpretation of the fluff. That's fair enough. The Gaunt's Ghost novels, for me, definitely made me play Guard, and I quite liked the Commissar... What is his name? He was basically a chicken the whole time, but when he was around everybody else, he acted like he was impenetrable. It was a brilliant character. Some of the books he was in were brilliant. Ross K. I can't imagine having elves without any lore, history, or relationships to other factions. It'd make the game almost unplayable. Players would have to make reasons up, yes. Dunny Woods, did you ever read Gotrek and Felix? Have you heard they are returning to AOS? I did read one of the books. I can't remember much of what happened, and I did know they were coming back, but we'll see what they do with them. I think they've got major sway with the Warhammer community, especially a lot of the people who still play 8th edition or 9th edition, and maybe some of them might come back. I don't know. If they haven't come back already, I think they wouldn't be coming back just for 2 characters. Nurgling, Skaven are Beastmen, Sam. yeah. Maybe I should put some Skaven in there. They would have probably been easier to paint than these horrible models. 12 Neath. It seems a new water faction is on its way as well. Yes, that's one of the elves, I think. Polo, some Osprey games have great background and the games feel connected to it. Others not so much, but as a mechanic framework to create your own. Osprey have got some really good books, and I think they've got a sale on at the moment. I think it's even 50% or something off on their books. So if you are interested, Osprey Games have got, and they did send me a book to do a review on. I just haven't had time to get around to it. It's the latest Bolt Action book. The one in Berlin, I think. Operation Market Garden, I think it is. I've got that to go through, so I'll do that. Why is it skipped on me again? Coleman's got to head off. See you later, Coleman. Thanks for watching. 12 Neath. I don't remember it being said Felix would be Stormcast. That's what people have been assuming. If he were a Stormcast Eternal, he probably wouldn't remember Gotrek. Potentially not if they turn him into one. Al Kirkham, in all of the AOS stories, when a Stormcast is reforged and returns to fight, some of the commanders feel a little less human, or like they were when they first when first reforged. Yeah, I think it could potentially. I don't know if it happens every time. I think it might have been Malign Portents or one of the later books that they released. It did say that sometimes they just come back okay, effectively, but it could just be that they go back one time and then they get this flaw happen. So it could be something as dramatic as getting teleported back and then just freaking out and becoming some crazy Stormcast thing. Oh, maybe I've just read Ralph's comment. Operation Market Garden is set in Holland. Did you get Road to Berlin? It might have been Operation Market Garden and it's set in Holland instead. Then I haven't opened the front cover yet, so I do need to do that. Martin Dix, I dislike always losing, but I prefer fluff, to be honest. And Nurgling just converts and paints. But you do a very good job at converting. Ralph is saying it's 75% models. If I like the models, I think about the army, then I start looking into the fluff, and if that's cool, I start to collect. Chapter Master Valrak. Dawn is the best Primarch, not biased. He isn't the best Primarch. I've got to tell you that. I think there's my personal opinion, as cool as Dawn is, I think there's other Primarchs for me that are on the, what I'm going to have to do is put all of the Primarchs in order from a scale from top to bottom, and I'll do that for my personal opinion, and we'll have a post where everybody can do that on the video in the comments, and we'll see who comes out top. Eduardo Parades, sorry if I butchered your name. Ralph Hummel, I'm the same, so I got the same idea as Ralph. All is dust, finished with Zangors, now enlightened. So more Zangors on dish. So truly all is Zangors for 1,000 Suns at the moment. Derpimus, Cyphus, Kane. Yeah, it is Kane who was the really cool commissar. He's amazing. 12 Neef asking. Eduardo saying, is the water faction related to Malarian or Teclis and Tyrion? I think it could be either. Like I said, the Black Arcs are from Dark Elves in the old 8th edition. I think realistically it's got more chance to be Tyrion and Teclis, because I think anything based around the sea, Malarian is the lord or the protector of the shadow realms of Ulgu or whatever they're called. So I think boats and light and travelling around on the sea might be more linked to Tyrion and Teclis. And I think Malarian is going to be a little bit more darker. I think with the Law of Shadow, there's a lot of teleporting and melding into the shadows and just appearing. So I think there'll be a different theme with Malarian and the Sons of Malarian. I think that's what we're going to see. And then, 12 Neef has just said most likely it'll be Teclis and Tyrion as well. Hang Me says, hail. Hey, Hang Me. Eduardo says, thanks, hence the seahorses, but then what happens to Corsairs? Maybe they get rid of Corsairs, maybe Corsairs get integrated. Maybe there's still going to be some of the whole seafaring side of Dark Elves which still work. Maybe all of the sea stuff from Dark Elves and High Elves get combined together, and that's what we're going to see. We'll see Corsairs, we'll see all of the new models, and we'll see the Lothern Sea Guard, and maybe they've formed into a different faction. Maybe. There's so many options they could do. Derpimus, we'd like to take you all prisoner, but I'm afraid we haven't got the facilities. Sorry, was there anything else? Hang Me says top 5 Primarchs needs to happen. We'll do it. We'll do a video on it for sure. And all is Dustin saying Magnus did nothing wrong and is still the best. And Marlborough says Valrak Purge incoming. Well, I'm 3 minutes over. I think the Purge is happening a little bit late, but Valrak's Purges are great. Listener is saying, all is dust, that's heresy. Paulus, love the 40k background in the Eisenhorn trilogy and the Calpurnia books. More set in day-to-day life of the Imperium. Makes great stuff for Shadow War. Okay, so we've done an hour. We've actually done an hour's worth of content rather than me just... I have been babbling, but I've actually tried to keep it to the 2 topics that I chose this week. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Any questions, any comments, any of your... thoughts, put it in the comments down below on this video. If you're not already on the Facebook group or the forums, it's free to make an account on the website. So if you go to wargameronline.com, make a free account, you can go to the forums and post whatever you want and join in on any of the conversations which are over there, including posting your own project logs. So be sure to do that. We've got a bunch of premium videos for anybody who's interested in signing up to that. It helps support the channel, and we do appreciate every single person that does sign up for premium, everybody who donates, and everybody who subscribes. So thanks to everyone who does that. And that's pretty much it for this week. Phil will most likely be back on Monday with his Monday musing in this wonderful setup. I will most likely be back on Saturday. I think I'll let people know if I won't be doing a Saturday show, and I may still be changing it to a Friday instead of a weekend. I haven't decided yet, but oh, I broke it. But I'll try and do my best to keep people updated. And again, leave it in the comments down below if there's certain days. It's going to be a Friday or a Saturday, I think. So let us know in the comments afterwards so that I can do a little tally and see what people think. Whether Fridays or Saturdays are better. I'm thinking later on a Friday would probably be better. But other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the weekend. The rest of the week is good, and get loads of hobby done, and I'll speak to you later. Although somebody has just said, Red Cuffs, before you go, if I came across as a patient as white as you, I'd just call life extinct there and then, mate. Just saying. I am really pale. Maybe I just need to get out more and do less painting. We'll see. Anyways, I'll see you next week. Bye.